cashier floor?
I spoke to the design professional on this project, and they indicated that, in, the construction of this space, that they were limited by the foundation of the existing building or the adjacent building, if that's like, want to think about it. And that, the manager's office was actually, constructed higher than this level. And it may not be accessible from the convenience store. That the manager's office is more for the liquor store on the other side. It may be another issue that they have variance wise in that manager's office is not located at a level that's accessible. But the way I understand it currently, it is not a part of this cashier area, even though it was intended to originally be. And I was told that this plan is not representative of what was actually constructed for that particular piece of it.
I'm having trouble following. I mean, I see an office for the convenience store at the back right of the building. And I see a lease space to the left, which may be a liquor store. I'm not 100% positive, but the only area that's raised is the cashier floor. And it just goes to the door, to the entry into that cashier area. And again, this was done for safety of the employees and better visibility to operate the store for one or two people. Did I miss something you spoke about? I'm sorry. I didn't follow what you were saying.
This was just a discussion that I had with the design professional. Told me that the manager's office could not be constructed at the level of the convenience store because of the foundations of the existing liquor store. And
Okay.
that it was actually constructed differently than the plan shows. Plan that we have here and the plan that we have in plan review. So they were planning to submit an addenda to plan review to make those corrections.
Well, the adjacent areas have not been raised. It's just the cashier floor area.
But again, if I'm looking at the plan and you got the cashier area at the southwest corner of the convenience store space.
Yeah.
Correct? And then to the east of the cashier area, you have a door to get from the convenience store floor to the employee area. And then you have another door from the employee area to the cashier area, right? With the step up.
Yeah.
And then I walk west in the cashier area. On the south side of the cashier area, there's some kind of room with a door in the plan. Is that an office or is that like a storage room?
I'm not seeing that on my floor plan.
I'm looking at floor plan A101. It's the life safety plan. It's C Store Edition 573 South Arlington, Indianapolis, Indiana.
Okay, let me look at that sheet.
floor plan provided for the variance is not the same floor plan that was provided to get the CDR.
I'm not finding a 1.3, did you say? 1.
A-101A. And that's why I mean, it seems like we may not have the right plans in the variance application.
I'm not seeing those in the current plans that I have.
So the title sheet for the plans that are in the variance application is for C-addition 573 South Arlington Avenue. Is that the right property?
No, it's 3015 South Arlington.
Yeah, 3015, 3015. We got the wrong plans.
Those plans.
Now they've uploaded the correct plans.
Okay.
Sheet A101 labels that as Office 104.
Yeah, those plans are incorrect.
Okay.
Should have spelled it.
Good to know that. So. You need the credit.
So you don't have an office space off the convenience store in the actual building that was built?
Not adjacent to the cashier area. No, it's in the back right corner of it's between the storage space and the kitchen area.
He needs to upload the correct drawings.
Yes.
I'm looking at it now. It's not, doesn't go to the variance.
Okay.
Can I share a floor plan? Can I do that on here?
Yeah.
Screen and choose what you want to share.
But Denise, you'll need copies of them though, won't you?
Exactly. Those plans that, he has to the variance that we are talking about now are the same, because it's another variance that was filed on August 13th for 573 South Arlington. Those plans go for this 23627 that's not even on the commission agenda. So somehow or another, the wrong blueprints were uploaded.
Yeah, this
So
floor
those
plan's,
plans do not-
this plan's completely different.
Right.
Yeah. Sir, can you zoom in on the southwest corner of this, please?
I don't know if I can. Let me see.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we should err on the side of caution and potentially table this, so we all have a chance to
Yeah.
review them.
Yeah.
Get plans and get those sent to.
Yeah,
Hey.
staff needs to write as well, so I'll make a motion to table.
Second. First, second, or I'm sorry, to table.
Commissioner Burgess,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook, yes, Commissioner Davidson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hyde,
Yes.
Chairman,
Yes.
Commissioner Tyrell,
Yes.
Vice Chairman,
Yes.
Commissioner Porter,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Commissioner Mayor.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. With that, it's 11:57. Take a hour for lunch. All right, HS to go to lunch as well. We'll be back at 1. Yeah. How do you?
That was B, man. So some of us too.
Yeah, that's crazy to expect us to get done that kind of thing. What do you mean there's no all of this other? I don't know, there might be, it's like you would think you'd know, there's a liquor store there, it's like, it's the wrong dang time.
Yep.
I mean, I just want to hear their just. Why this gas station?
Or 5 foot person.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't make the connection that they had the wrong address. They were looking at two different.
I know.
Didn't. You get to go through.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, welcome back to the comprehensive meeting. We'll get started again. 2008 has withdrawn, is that correct?
Yes.
Moving on to 240836.
240836. Country Heritage Winery, cocktail bar. Just for clarification, the second variance, under here, we recommend for approval. The first one, it requires that E2 occupancies be provided with an automatic sprinkler system when the fire exceeds 5,000 square feet or the occupant load exceeds 100. The provider is requesting that the building be provided with a fire alarm and a smoke protection system with a new first commission view size of the building and the occupant load.
Thank you.
They're Holman RT Consultants. With me today, I have Jeremy Luter, the owner, and also Phil Char, the architect of the project. The project is a new building. It's at Country Heritage Winery. They have a building they're adding on. It's labeled a cocktail bar. It's not really going to be a bar. It's more like a tasting room for the winery and also their recent distillery that is now up and going in the last year or so. It's a little over, what's that footage? A little over 5,000 square feet, and the total occupant load calculated is approximately 220 in the building. The hardship is that there is no water line, municipal water line. We've gotten a quote to put a sprinkler system in, which includes a pump house and line from the pond on the property. That is running at about $325,000 for that installation. Overall project budget's about $900,000, so we're looking at 36% of the overall budget. It's going to be separated from the distillery and from the winery. There are two separate buildings by firewalls, code compliant firewalls. And it's going to have complete smoke detection throughout and a fire alarm system throughout. The dining area has 3 ways out. Code is only required 2. And the purpose of this is kind of a connection point between the winery and distillery due to licensing requirements for alcohol consumption and distribution for tastings and stuff like that for the distillery and winery.
You had fire full
What's that?
stations,
Yeah, it's gonna have a manual fire alarm system.
sensors.
Correct.
What again is the purpose of the fire alarm?
It's separating from the winery building and the distillery building to create a separate building for the code. So we're within allowable area for construction. As I said, I have the owner here with me if you guys have any questions on actual operations or anything like that. Facility.
So this is a new construction, right?
Yes, there's currently kind of like a pizza,
Yeah, was it like a
Like a little-
outdoor concession stand?
like an outdoor concession stand there. That's essentially being encompassed into this, but it's a large expansion, basically a brand new building.
What figure the actual load to do?
Currently, it's looking at about 220. That's with kitchen space, everything.
You're on construction plans right now, or purchased the property already and?
Yeah, current owner, the winery's been there since 2010. We're in operation now. As you mentioned, we just acquired a distiller's license 6 months ago. And in the state of Indiana, both licenses need to be hooked together, so we have to be under roof connection between the winery and distillery to serve on the same property.
So this is basically a connection building between the two with, as he mentioned, firewalls on both ends of that. It's all single story, all 100% handicap accessible, dual doors on everything.
How far away is the main water supply for whatever town you're at?
Probably about 5 miles. A little over.
Yeah, we're in a little town that's actually Leato. They don't have city water there, so the closest one is Hunter Town.
That's city sewer.
Yes, we have city sewer, not city water.
Hmm.
It's just, I don't know why, it's the way it is. Unfortunately.
5 miles.
Have you priced the sprinkler system then with the tank?
Yeah.
Not necessarily the thing, but we priced it for a pump house from the pond on the property. And it runs at about 325,000 for the pump house. You can see the sprinkling over the cocktail area and the piping to the building.
We had them priced it 3 different ways. They told me this was the cheaper of the 3 options. The tank, pond was another one, and then the fire well was the 3rd option. That was the most expensive. Pond was supposed to be the cheapest. If you call that the cheapest.
Why you can't put a price on life?
I get it. I get it. I get it.
Say cheapest. I get it. You know, it always gets me just the fact that people want to build stuff where they know that they really can't because there's not any water. You know, so you build things like that and want to have, you know, place where you're gonna have a couple hundred people seated. But you know, going into it, that you probably don't have the water where you should at least meet with the proper people ahead of time to figure out what's required.
Yes.
So.
Unfortunately, like I said, though, we're trying to grow everything there also, so we're not gonna grow corn and beans or corn and wheat and grapes inside the town, the city limits either. So that's one reason the winery got moved out of town.
And that's why we're incorporating as many fire walls as we can so that we can compartment it in a passive way.
That's out the country, you want to taste wine, something like to eat. I get it. You won't be in town.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with doing it. You know, there's nothing wrong with doing something.
More cops in it.
Lay out, that's not that hard. That's what lit from me.
No, we're only just 20 minutes north there, 30 minutes.
I mean, if I to roll in, might take a few minutes. We've been through this several times in this last year, haven't we?
Yeah, I hope that's the same question. That's the same exact question.
I will say the calculated occupant load is about 220. The actual, like if you look at the seating layout, it doesn't even look like we're up to 100 on the seating layout that's provided. The calculated occupant load is where we're getting that 200.
The idea really that Jeremy has had is that this is a very rural setting. It's in the middle of a vineyard and he's got a beautiful backyard, probably one of the nicest backyards for exterior venues. But he wants to be able to have people able to sit at a table, be able to have a conversation and not worry about the people at the next table necessarily hearing. So there's a lot more space between the tables than what you might see at an urban restaurant.
I understand, but you know, you start getting busy, guess what? You want to make some money, guess what? You start adding those tables and chairs back in because they'll fit and you can fit more people. So people always say, hey, I'm going to start out with 49 people, but I can fit 150 and then, you know, you're down the road, they got 150 in there, you know?
We're always optimistic that your business is going to thrive.
Exactly.
And that's why we provided the exits commensurate for the number that's by code.
Yeah, I don't want anybody to get hurt either, obviously. So we, that's why I said, everything's 100% handicap accessible, well marked.
How do you feel about a posted occupant load in that room of less than 100?
I mean, like 99?
Yeah. I was gonna say the enforcement of that would be, as he mentioned, tough.
Better fire protection. At least you're being honest.
Cause I mean, it looks like on site, your parking, I mean, how many people show up? I mean, you got tons of parking, so I imagine that you have some
A
pretty,
lot of that's outdoor events. We do have security for that. We hired the local police department off-duty officers to do that.
So if there's a large event, he does have security people.
Yeah.
so it's conceivable that you could pack that place pretty good.
If there is an outdoor venue.
It's behind that.
Yeah, but if it rains and you're still having a party or something like that, then people would go inside, right? I mean, I was just offering like, if you're under 100 occupant loads and you're just over 5,000 square feet, you know, you start to kind of get aligned more with not needing it, right? If I read the code right. So if you don't want the sprinkler system, then maybe there's a trade-off, right? And that's what I'm getting at.
And to limit your occupancy.
Yeah.
Occupancy.
Which we've done a number of times.
Yeah. So.
Or you can put in the sprinklers with the ponds that you got there. I mean, 200 people in a building that's connected to other buildings that could have another couple hundred people in seems like a lot.
They do have their own outdoor access, so when they're connected to other buildings, it's not like you have to go through another building to get out.
True.
A lot of your clientele, if it's tasting and everything, they're rotating in and out too, aren't they? I mean, everybody that show up at 10 o'clock in the morning, say when you open.
No.
People roll in, taste the wine, buy some, maybe something to eat, then they probably.
Yes.
Go to another vineyard after that one.
Yeah, I mean, that's typically how the wine world works.
I know. That's my wife.
Yeah, honestly, the only reason those two buildings are actually connected with that is, like I said, to get past the
Licensing requirement.
yes. Otherwise, we'd stay 20 feet apart and we're everything's at least more clean from that standpoint. But that's why, like I said, if you notice, he's got extra exits drawn into each one of those connectors too. Plus, there's ones we don't have to go through the connectors to get out also.
Spirits in, can't serve wine in the distillery. And so
Otherwise, you have to set separately. It's a whole that's the deal. You can't set together. You and your spouse want different products. That's where this whole venture came into place.
How big is it distillery?
The the store itself was 5,000 square
I
feet.
think it was about 5,000. And most of that's, you know, dry storage for the grain and whatnot. The actual distillery itself is pretty small.
I went burger, my wife wants wine, we just sit on the outdoor patio.
Once this is connected, yes. If we don't connect this, technically, you have to have a row between you and separate bathrooms and the whole gamut. What's that? Sorry.
I said some people may prefer to drink that.
Maybe. Marriage counselors on site too, so that's not a good idea.
But the music venues, he does have security around, so
Absolutely.
the higher, you know, when it's not very many people, it's not an issue. If he does have more people, then there's security and additional staff there.
So all sun fielding, especially for the long end. I mean, is the 99 low occupancy feasible?
I mean, with the kitchen help and all that,
Are we limiting
Are you proposing to limit that for the entire building or the dining space?
I need.
Well, I mean, again, if I read the code right, it says like, if you're below 5,000 and below 100 people, you would need a sprinkler system.
Yeah, you need like,
Over 5,000 by a little bit, and you're over 100 people by double. So you could, if 200 people is important to you, sprinkler system is kind of the way to automatically do that. But you're asking for us to consider not putting a sprinkler system in with those facts. And what we've done in the past is we do a trade-off.
right. So my question is, does that limit posting of the lot, of the code limit not include kitchen staff? Wait,
Is there seating at the bar?
So, yes.
Okay. I just did a quick glance. It looks like there's 85 chairs shown, so I see what Logan was saying is, or is it, or what you're saying?
Yeah, because
Is it
50 to 100 or limiting the dining space to 100?
Public to 99 and allow them to have.
So you've got the seating configuration and, call it 14 seats around the bar area so that, you're counting your 99 patrons, essentially. You're not counting the bartender or their staff in the back.
There may be days you may have to crack the whip.
To include, in order to include the employee count and everything. You know what the employee count's gonna be like in here?
I do not know right now.
Not yet.
I think he had was 14 for the bathroom, right?
Yeah, that we shouldn't count that because it's net area is what we should go with for the assembly.
You said 99 patrons, right?
That was my thought.
Yeah.
For staff. 99, yeah, you have 99.
Yeah, 99 public and then staff on top.
Sorry, what was that question?
He was saying that you have 99 persons.
Patrons.
Patron.
Okay.
With, and set your occupancy at 99. But you could still have, over 99 with your staff. I don't know how many staff members you need though.
Well, I think the number should be one number.
Okay, so you all include,
So that it's easier to enforce. If it's
so on a
like,
busy Saturday, not handing W-4s out at the door.
yeah,
You're not pulling it out, you're not pulling it out.
yeah.
10.99.
Hey, you didn't think of that. Till just now.
Thank you. There's a lot of things I haven't thought about, evidently.
So give me a guess of how many employees would be in that space.
So let me ask this, especially aimed toward Mr. Murrah. If you go into a retail business and it says 99 occupants, you do a head count or you just count the customers? You count everybody. Okay. Oh, I took it.
Yeah. I want him to borrow. For occupancy is 250, I'd be like, okay, everybody looking.
You got one of those little clicker things?
I got it.
Sufficient staff number,
The other option would be, which we did earlier tonight, would be it could be afforded some time to install a protection system, We had somebody earlier that we gave a year. You buy the protection system.
Then you could come back in 2 years if it's not feasible. That the water's not, that you're not gonna get to that level where you need to be.
Yeah, I don't know, so, I don't know how that is over there, Phil, that area where you're at, I know Leon.
We crossed the county line, so I don't know when seawater.
I don't know where that's at.
He's talking about before 100 high water gets out there.
No, they won't cross county lines. So it would have to be in that area, and it's gonna be a long time before Leano has a water system.
And so you have where your winery's at is.
It's right on state.
New additions coming in, man, as much stuff is growing out that way, you know, I mean.
If we were on the Algonquin side of things, I think it'd be a lot sooner, but we're not. And I don't know if unfortunately or fortunately, but we're on the Cal side. So I don't know if they'll, if or when they'll, I mean, someday I'm assuming they will cross county lines.
And your other space on the property, isn't sprinklered, so it's probably, did you get a variance for that space too?
There was variance, but it was to split up the building. And there was some firewalls that put it that way, internal of the building.
So
The
you,
winery went through a chapter 30 process and some variances.
okay, so you did some. You split up the building so that you didn't have to do the sprinkler system now.
Which has to do with mixed occupancies.
Right, okay.
So to include staff, account staff and patrons, a posted occupant load at 130 be sufficient. If we were willing to go with 99 patrons. I understand the need, though, desire to want to have a single number, not trying to separate out staff and patrons.
Yeah. Whoever the fire marshal is that shows up one day just to check in, is probably not monitoring this meeting today, so.
We are checked annually anyways too. We have an outdoor stage, so the fire marshal does do his annual inspection every year anyways.
The state would come through and get you for your event permit, right?
Yes,
They there for that?
Yes.
So for your,
yes,
for your,
yeah, annually,
for your license?
yes, yes.
You've got a lot of entities.
I'm sorry,
You've got a lot of entities.
yes,
Yeah, I mean. Leato is just volunteer, is that correct? Leato Fire Department?
volunteer, correct, yes.
One of the best in the state.
Hunter,
Former residents.
Huntertown is usually the first ones there anyways. We're like 3 minutes from the Huntertown Fire Station. It's actually closer, well, about the same distance Leato is, to be honest with you.
That's true.
But they are full-time. So they're on station. At least 3 of them are, I think. I think there's 3 there full-time. Yeah, so they're usually there first because they are on station.
Something. You want I to make a motion to
But I don't know how I feel about having an occupant load posted to 130. You know, or an occupant load at 99, because then you realize that if somebody comes in, whether it be the state or whether it be Huntertown or Leato, whoever, then you look at going, okay, well, there's 99, we're gonna typically count the patrons. I don't always, I'm gonna run around and count all the staff. You know, but I would count the patrons if there are 190 people, if they had 20 people working staff, and I guess I'd be okay with that. I mean,
So 120.
kind of yours. I just don't know about writing, putting an occupant load of 120 because there'll be 120 plus staff.
I was gonna say you're gonna be up
I'm
to
just
150.
realistic, and I don't mean anything badly about it. I'm just stating realistically, I deal with occupant loads all the time. You know, places that get a little overcrowded. You know, they come and say, well, no, we only got 99 people. So realistically, that people is supposed to for you and your staff, not just that, but you know, if I'm looking at that, I'll go look at the patrons and go, okay, I'm relatively close to 99 people.
Yeah, but that's a practice, that's a enforcement thing.
suggested enforcement.
Yeah, and you and your responsibility as an enforcer can make that judgment calls and not enforce the 99. But for us to give a 99 occupant load, knowing very well that they're gonna go over that, that seems like a bad precedent. So I would say, if we're gonna commit to a number, let's commit to a number that they are agreeing to, not a number that's like wink, wink, nudge, nudge, we know you're gonna go home. You know? Yeah.
Good point.
No, I agree with that.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
And not to cut you off.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'd be okay with the posted occupant load of 99, and then.
Yeah.
You know, if you find yourselves at the point where you're turning people away because your business is that good, then you've got an argument to say, okay, well, maybe we need to invest in fire suppression so that we can take that limit off and bring in that additional revenue.
Down the road.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I find that a lot of times if I'm dealing with people that are moving into a new business, you know, and they want to have a posted occupancy limit less than what's required because they don't want to sprinkle, or they have a business that they just don't want to sprinkle within our state limits. And typically I let them know that, hey, you know, if you sprinkle the building, you can do pretty much whatever you want in the building, you know. And under these number of occupants in there, which, yeah, like in this case, more than double that. That's a lot of cash to bring in, you know.
Well, and you've got that pond on site, so you've got,
Correct.
you've got a potential water source in the event that, you know, town water, city water never does make it to you. So you've got options.
In the future.
Yes.
That number also seems as high to me.
99?
No, 350 to do that work. That just
Well,
sounds.
it's about 25 to do the inside of the building. It's about 300 to get pump house and piping from the pond to the building.
It just sounds.
That's generally the most expensive part.
No, I understand.
Sounds high.
And it doesn't include all the landscaping and everything you'd have to redo through the actual outdoor event center.
And I think Chairman also mentioned possibility of a tank that wasn't priced. Could very well be more affordable than a pump house and all that kind of stuff. There's options.
Right.
So I'll make it. We have a motion to table?
Yeah.
Okay. I will make a motion to approve on the condition of a posted occupant load of 99 persons.
I'd second that.
So we have a consent to approve condition of occupancy 99.
Is that agreeable to John?
Sad or sprinkle it. And obviously, if you decide a year from now to sprinkle it,
Let him up.
yeah,
Yeah. Say later on down the road, they do sprinkle, get it all set up. They won't have to come back in front of us, right?
Well, yeah, if they sprinkle it, then they're in compliance with the code, so.
correct.
yeah, no variance.
Yeah.
We have to submit a remodel,
You would need to file it with the state and whatnot for,
then it would have all.
yeah.
Motion second.
Commissioner Brooks.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Yes.
Chairman,
Yes.
Yes.
Vice Chairman,
Yes.
Commissioner Porter,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner,
Yes.
Commissioner Trainer.
Yes.
Gonna do well up that area.
Did you say approve with no conditions?
Those conditions.
Oh, with those conditions, okay.
Nice try.
I want to make sure. Did you guys?
Motion to approve B.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'll make a motion to approve variance B.
Yep, second.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Chris,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
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 Vice Chairman,
Yes.
Porter,
Yes.
Wagner.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Variance report, 37.
Right.
Another A2 here, they don't want to sprinkle it. And this was referred because the second floor, it's a two-story building, has, just the second floor has more than 100 people. So that's why.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Go ahead, Dan.
Gentlemen, this is Nick Georgiou and Associates Architects. We're the design of record. The owners of the Four Corners Winery are present there in person. Mike Tisma and Deanne Sasser. I'm going to give an overview of the project, and if they have questions they can answer versus myself, we'll go from there. This is an existing barn on a existing winery project. The barn is approximately 3,060 square feet. It's a timber and wood frame construction. There's a covered roof attachment for an outdoor area immediately to the south, and then there's a shop building about 10 feet to the south of that also. It's a empty shell, basically, and the proposal is to actually finish out the first floor and add a second floor with loft type opening to the first floor. We're showing a mixed use with a brewery on the feature brewery on the first floor. All the bathrooms, et cetera, for the facility would be on the first floor also. And then there's a tasting area or drinking area immediately on the first floor. The second floor is two small venue spaces, and they'd be more of like a baby shower, private party, retirement dinner type stuff. There is no intention to have any kitchen here. We also are proposing, in lieu of the sprinklers, I don't even know where the adjacent water system, we're outside of Valparaiso, we're unincorporated Porter County, we're at least a mile from the closest main highway to the west. I think there's maybe water on the other side of that. In fact, on the aerial views, their closest house is like 1,000 feet away. There's no water, there's no pond, et cetera, on the site. We ran the calculation for occupancy on the square footage and not on any other calculation. We're showing there's three different types of uses, A2 along with B and F2 for the brewery. Our calculations show total occupancy of 176 on the maximum square footage that we utilize. That would be employees, everyone, et cetera. Timber and frame, Jason. Oh, we also offered up additional exiting. There's actually 4 exits. Again, the footprint's only 3,000 square feet. We're showing 4 exits on the main floor. And on the upper floor, we're also showing there's 2 direct to the exterior exits going off the second floor, which are shown in our plans that we submitted. We didn't get hard estimates on sprinkler systems relative to the cost. The build out budget or the cost that the owners are proposing is approximately $300,000 based on just sprinkler costs for the building itself. Plus, if this solution would be some sort of storage tank pump and a separate well, if that's even feasible, we project the cost is going to be up around $110,000, $120,000, which is in excess of 33% of the project. Leave it there and I'll open it up for any questions. Unless Mike or Deanne, if you have any comments you want to add.
Not at the moment. We just thank you for your time and welcome any questions.
How much was the renovation cost again? It's a renovation, right? Or
Yeah.
Yes, the existing building is an empty shell and the renovation proposes $300,000 without sprinklers.
The cooking, did you say no cooking No, we got
Kitchen facilities there.
cooking. We serve small plates. The most we have is a pizza oven to warm stuff. We don't even need a ventilation system with what the equipment we have. So no cooking.
Your email from them?
Yes.
So is this, was the shell of the building built as a class 1? Or is it a barn that's being converted?
Barn being converted. We did submit a code analysis on with the existing building on our cover sheet, G100. We indicated where fire separations would be between the building and the covered roof to the south, and it's also separations required between the brewery and the assembly area, and the office area and the assembly area.
And so what is the total square footage of the building?
The footprint is 3,060. The second floor has a open loft area in it and approximately 2,612 of actual square feet. So we're at about 5,700 square feet. Actual square footage.
So, now that it's, so if it was built as an ag building, and it's being converted to a class 1, I feel like this variance request is incomplete because it's only asking for no sprinklers, but we don't have a structural report that says it meets class 1 requirements or those other type of assessments we usually get when it's being converted from a ag to a class 1. Am I understanding that right, or am I?
No, you're right on. We don't have any kind of structural integrity of.
I kind of thought I was missing something.
Second.
Glad you're seeing the same
Second on
thing.
floor, we can have venues on the.
So I think,
Lot ratings.
so I think the question you're asking in your variance of whether or not you can get a variance for a sprinkler system or requirement is a question you'll need to ask, but I think there's a couple steps that we're missing in this application to grant this variance. And so unless I'm misunderstanding how this building was built and what you're doing with it, what I might suggest is that we table this right now so that you can do some of those other steps that need to be done before we make a decision on this variance.
Yeah, planning commissioner asked us to get variance from the fire suppression system before we submit to the state for the permit for the building itself.
Oh, okay.
So what Commissioner Cook is alluding to though is, when was the structure built?
Structure started out as a turn of the century barn on a Michigan type foundation. We hired a company to come in under a remodel permit. And as they started stripping everything down, it was wall by wall too far to go. So brand new 4 foot deep, 2.5 feet wide foundation walls underneath, underneath everything. And then everything is 8-inch timbers. So it's all, basically, the existing building is all brand new construction.
And that was his concern was, we've seen these for a number of years now where folks have a century-old barn on their property that they want to use for different events and whatnot.
Yeah.
But the way the Indiana code is written, it doesn't apply to agricultural use buildings. So when it was built 100 years ago, it was built to whatever standard the folks building it built it to.
Yeah.
And if we're going to start putting the public in there and make it a class 1 structure, we need to know that there's a baseline of structural stability.
Yeah.
And historically, we've gotten a report from a structural engineer that they went out, they inspected it, they ran calculations. If there were corrections that needed to be made, they noted those corrections. And then we would consider that in order to determine if we were going to grant a variance to basically wave a magic wand and say this agricultural building is now a class 1 structure. And that's when you have chapter 34, you have compliance, you have other methods to bring it into compliance. When you did the renovations, how long ago was that?
I think it started last November, probably. And it went very rapid. We were to either fix the building or tear it down. So we had a remodel permit, and as we went along, as I said, it's a brand new building.
The remodel comes from the state or from the local jurisdiction? Okay.
Yeah, so it is a brand new building.
Sort of.
Yeah, I really think we need to table this for you to have a path forward. Because without that first step of getting it reclassified as a class 1, which there's a couple steps of evaluating the building, and it's, if it's truly like you say, should be a pretty easy evaluation structurally.
Yeah.
But we still need to see that so that we can, on paper, convert it from a ag building that was primarily used for agricultural to a class 1 that now falls into this book of requirements.
Probably, I said this earlier about remodels. They start off as remodels. Or we find out that, somebody comes in to do a remodel and then they do more than what that remodel really is. Where they change the use. They say, oh, it's an office space and we're gonna remodel it, and then all of a sudden it becomes, the daycare house and 100 kids in it, now they need all kinds of things in there. And it just sounds like more than a remodel. They start replacing.
Renovation.
Yeah, they start replacing.
He's saying remodel, I might call it repair,
Yeah, and that's how the local jurisdiction defines the work in their ordinance.
Yeah.
And that varies wildly from one jurisdiction to another, what they consider renovation, remodel.
It's new construction, which we said, a lot of this is brand new construction.
Well, again, one might call a new concrete repair and one might call new concrete construction, but
But ultimately, it would have been considered an accessory structure to a class 2 dwelling, so. Actually, it wouldn't have even been that because it was agricultural.
yeah. Nick, does that make sense from what we're saying, or do you have any exceptions to what we're saying?
No, I understand what you're saying. I have no problem. I'm sure the owners will coordinate that we can have structural engineer verify that it's a class 1 or meets class 1 structure requirements. Subject to that. So I assume that would just be amended documentation to the variance request.
Yes. Correct, they can submit that. Any new material, they'll submit it, correct, Denise?
Yes.
Because unlike Logan, with the second level being 2,000 square feet, it'd be a lot of people up there quick.
Yeah, one side is 1,400, and then the other side is office, and then a loft for customers in that opposite side. Yeah.
They're gonna be able to add an additional variance section onto it's already been filed, it's already been approved, or received by LFO, LPO. They're gonna need to add that, that GAR section to make it a class 1 structure, don't they? Just for record keeping.
Just a point of clarification. I mean, I'm all for getting as much reassuring information as we can about the structural capabilities of the building. But in the past, that's been requested by the commission as a condition to someone that is proposing a chapter 34 for these structures. They have, as the owners, the option of just doing whatever they need to bring it into compliance with the code for a class 1 structure of that occupancy group. And the commission, in theory, wouldn't need to see any further documentation of that. That would all be done through plan review. They still need the approval of the commission to avoid sprinklering it. But the requested structural report on these type of facilities has traditionally been in response to the proposed use of chapter 34.
It's not clear that it has been based on what we've been told, it's not clear that it's been upgraded to a class 1 structure. Right?
Right. My point is, unless they want to use chapter 34, it isn't the commission's purview, I guess, to insert itself into that process. If they and their architect want to make whatever changes they need to in the design to bring it into full compliance with the codes, and it goes through plan review and they carry out the construction in accordance with the approved drawings, it's a class 1 structure.
I guess the question to Nick is,
You want to bring it into full compliance or you got it?
is this been brought into full compliance to be a class 1 structure, except for this one variance that you're requesting?
That has not been verified to my knowledge.
So I
we would
think,
have to, go ahead.
yeah, so I think we should table it. And again, you have a few different options of how you can proceed, but determining that this ag building is now a class 1 or needs to be converted into a class 1 is the first question I answered.
Yeah, I'm not advocating that against tabling it. I think they need to decide how they want to proceed on the project in terms of the process of making it class 1.
I have a question relative to that. So I heard two different scenarios, which I understand. One is it's an existing shell building currently, and so if it was verified by a structural engineer or whatever is required and certified as class 1, would that have to go through regular DHS plan review just for that, or can it be submitted back to this committee as part of the amendment to the variance request?
Well, I don't know that the commission, I guess it depends on the group's comfort level. My point is the sprinkler issue and the making this a class 1 structure issue are two different things. If the owners want to make this a class 1 structure and they are not interested in pursuing chapter 34, then it's their responsibility and yours as their design professional to do whatever is required to bring it into compliance with the current codes. And that includes, requirements for structural capacity. How you do that is up to you. But the only reason the commission would need to see that information is if it's part of a variance request. And the variance request typically for these has been to allow a non-class 1 structure to be to go through the chapter 34 process. If you are just going to make this building comply without the use of chapter 34, then that's all done through plan review.
So I'm not 100% familiar with the chapter 34 process, but if we go through that, it's coming back through this variance committee versus going full blown through the state permit side.
If you want to pursue chapter 34, which allows you to not have to comply with most of the building code, then you would need to get a structural analysis report to the commission because they want some degree of certainty that this is going to be adequate structurally in order to give you approval to do a 34 because it's not currently a class 1 structure. Chapter 34 is only for use on class 1 structures that are going through a change of occupancy group. So if you're not already at chapter 1, you can't use it without a variance from the commission. If that's the route you want to go, then the commission is going to want to see a structural analysis.
That I understand. Okay.
Paul, did you have a question? Did you have a question you were going to ask?
No, I was agreeing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm sorry if I've muddied the waters.
You're spot on. Clarified. long as Nick understands. Right?
To my way of thinking, the first thing that you as the owners and your design team need to do is to decide how you want to make this a class 1 structure, whether you're going to bring it into full compliance with the code, or you would like to be able to utilize chapter 34, which gets you out of a lot of requirements. Then, based on your answer to that, you'll need to know what you need to come back to the commission with. If you're going to bring it into compliance, full compliance with the code without using chapter 34, that's all done through your design drawings and your submittals to plan review. If you decide you want to utilize chapter 34 so you don't have to bring it into full compliance, then you're going to need a variance to be allowed to do that because it's not currently a class 1 structure. And that's when the commission wants to see things like these structural analyses.
I understand that part. That part's very clear.
Okay.
So under either option, it first has to be classified as class 1 structure.
That would be the first step.
First step.
And I don't want to suggest that even if you decide to not take chapter 34 process, take that route, if you're still interested in not sprinklering, but in every other way you're going to bring it into compliance, you'll still need this variance. So, don't withdraw it. But I would say it makes sense to table it until you decided just how you want to approach the project.
With that last thing said, we bring all of the drawings and everything to this committee. The structural information.
If you want to utilize chapter 34, yes, this group will need to see your structural analysis. If you are going to bring the building into compliance completely, or even everything except the sprinklers, this body isn't particularly interested in the structural analysis. All of that stuff will have to go through plan review.
I understand. There's two different, Mike and Deanne, there's two different processes here. I believe that the structural evaluation, the class 1 and chapter 34, which would all come back through to this committee, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Otherwise, we can do the full-blown design, go through DHS and still have to request the sprinkler variance.
Yes.
We'll see you guys.
I understand.
So you know which direction we're heading, right, Dave?
Yeah, no, I'll circle back with the owners and this is very helpful and clarified a few items. I appreciate it.
We need a motion made.
Motion to table.
Second.
Second. Actually, roll call.
Denise has something.
We have a question.
If you do choose to go the chapter 34 route, you need to let me know because this section is going to have to change, reflecting that chapter 34.
That's true.
Your information.
What was that comment? I didn't hear that.
If you decide to do a chapter 34, the variance that you will be seeking from the commission needs to be,
Line of that.
yeah, I don't remember which section in chapter 34 specifically says that it's only for use on class 1 structures. But whatever that section is, that's what you would need the variance for, and not for necessarily the sprinkler requirement. Unless you do a 34 and you find you can't pass it without a sprinkler.
Okay.
And you're gonna get Denise's contact info, is that?
Yeah, it's going to be a
Thank you.
design, stamp that chapter 34 too, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
Nick,
a chapter 34 analysis would have to be sealed by a design professional, which I assume Nick would do.
Understood. Were there any other comments from Mike or Deanne, the owners? I understand that's what we have to circle back and figure out and come back to you.
I think our desire is to be compliant with type 1, I think you call it.
Class 1 structure, yeah.
Just the sprinklers. But we'll be talking about that.
When you get into it with your architect, you may find that your strategy needs to change. this is the time for you to decide all of that, and then come back to us with whatever you need.
Last question, when you say for the chapter 34, if we were to go that route, but we have to seek a variance from that, what are we seeking a variance from chapter 34?
You're not seeking a variance, well, you are seeking a variance from one specific section in chapter 34 that says that that process can only be used to change occupancy group in class 1 structures, because you're not technically class 1 yet. So in order to use chapter 34 on a building that isn't class 1, you have to have a variance.
Variance under chapter 34, that I don't need to be.
Right. You'll need a variance to use chapter 34 on a non-class 1 building.
Okay.
So for the benefit for Mike and Deanne, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the existing building from your perspective is considered an ag building, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, advocacy, yeah.
So it has to be certified as class 1 in order to be used for its commercial purpose that's intended.
Yes, it has to be made into a class 1 structure, and the usual way to do that is to just bring it into compliance with all of the requirements for a class 1 structure for its intended occupancy group.
Okay. Unless we do the chapter 34, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Okay, I understand.
And since they aren't class 1 now, they can't use chapter 34 without a variance.
Understood.
Yeah, I have one last question. We can submit drawings, not build the building out, but have the drawings that this is what we're going to do. And that will enable us to get into the variance for the class 34.
If you intend to use chapter 34, I don't know of any reason that you would need to complete a set of design drawings to get variance to do that. I think that the commission is primarily interested in knowing that the structural capacity is going to meet the needs. So I guess my point is, in the past, most of the ones that I've seen come through seeking a variance to use chapter 34 on a non-class 1 structure, they'll provide a structural analysis that gives the commission some sense that the building is going to be safe structurally. And then they'll get that variance, they'll go on and they'll prepare whatever their design drawings that they need, and the chapter 34 analysis, and submit all of that to plan review.
I will circle back with the owners and further clarify and discuss what we need to do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah,
We will need to,
we're about to vote.
take a vote. Need to vote.
Oh,
Yeah.
We're just voting to table.
We're just voting.
Yeah, this is voting to table.
Commissioner Burris?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
The next up is 24/8/38 federal building legal. The code requires that sprinklers outside dwelling units shall be quick response. Installation shall be based on the performance of NFPA 13. The submitters are requesting to use standard response sprinklers instead. So they refer to the commission due to a lack of expertise among the staff regarding this declaration.
And thank our town consultants. I'll try to cut to the point here.
Nah.
Might as well. We were scrambling, trying to get all the information about 60% of the sprinklers are standard response that are up on the balconies. All of them are rated for 155 degrees. So we've had some discussions with the fire department, including several emails here in the last couple of days, and I think Brian Lott may be on the call here. So I'll state what my understanding is and then correct me or yes to their own views on this, but my understanding is that I had Christina look at this and give an opinion about the temperature issue at least. And at that time, we were still a little confused about how many standard response versus quick response. But we feel that the 155-degree heads are fine. They're sufficiently above the ambient temperature for what we would expect. So and my understanding is that the fire department is not opposed to maintaining 155-degree heads, but they are opposed to the use of any standard response sprinklers. Brian, did I get that right or?
You did. This is Brian Law, Deputy Fire Marshal with the City of Noblesville Fire Department. So basically what's happened on this project is I think the sprinkler contractor just got lazy and installed what he had left on the job, which was 60% of them were standard response versus the quick response that were designed to be installed on these balconies. So they all are 155-degree heads. Obviously, it's just going to take longer for the head to pop off with a standard response head versus a quick response. The problem they're in now is to change those out. It'd be on 59 apartments and they'd have to rip the ceiling back about 2 feet to change these heads out on all these balconies, which is the hardship due for the cost to do that. So.
Whose hardship to install them?
Good point.
I'm trying to figure out whose hardship this is. Contractor, you install them wrong.
Yeah, I'd say it's gonna get back charged to the
Yeah,
installer, I imagine.
absolutely it will. Yeah, and you know what, it's really hard to approve something on variance like this, just because, of course, I do this every day. And the precedent that it sets is it's okay to install something that is not correct and then seek a variance, even if, by the way, that even if the argument you're making makes sense. I mean, I totally understand that, but the precedent it sets to construction.
We made an opinion about the temperature rating, so we don't think the temperature rating is a problem. So, and the fire department isn't arguing that point. So we have two issues. One is that they said we should have intermediate temperature sprinklers, but that's sort of a judgment call in a way. We think we've come to a truce on the fact that the 155-degree heads are fine, but they're opposed to using to allowing any standard response sprinklers. So
How many of the apartments are currently occupied?
all of them, right?
No, very few. We've limited them to 15 apartments to be occupied out of the 100 so far.
Okay.
I mean, just one building, so it's a little hard.
This is Joel Shield. He's with the
Old Town Construction.
No, sprinkler guy, don't worry.
No, they're the general contractor.
He's the one that has to do the back. And make them do it. Is this, I assume this is, of course, for trying to help the fire protection sub. I mean, ultimately, they would pay the cost,
Yes.
correct? Yeah. It's just the burden of having to go in there and do that work.
Yeah, and with us continually filling or occupying the building with more and more tenants, could be substantially more occupied units by the time we get new heads in.
Is this is in the one, call it the donut building right there?
It is, yeah, it's the building B, so it'd be the one west of.
Oh,
West
it's
of the
the
garage.
more of a linear building. Yeah, are they allowing occupancy in this building
Yes.
prior to the whole building being ready to go?
Yeah. So we have a temporary C of O right now.
For
For the whole building or for
a lot of
floor?
For the whole building.
Wow. It's substantial, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I was like, well, are you ready really to move residents in? But right now you're approved to do that. How many units is this again? Yeah, that's a lot. And how many units are in that building?
That's just that building.
Yeah, in that,
Yeah, building. This one building we're talking about.
and we're talking about all the units. How many are we?
Building B.
That's the building we're talking about, right?
There's 59-ish heads.
Okay.
We'd have to.
Okay, that's right.
Do a quick response.
And the cost, the estimated cost for changing out is 165,000.
That would have been for everything, so.
That's rip it out, drive.
It's probably about 90 or
And then the total cost of the project is.
more than 10 times.
Yeah.
Make a motion tonight.
Can I ask if you're inclined to act on this, that you would approve it on the contingency that all the standard response sprinklers be traded out for quick response? Because if you deny it outright, that means they have to change them all out. And there's no need to do that because we do have about 40% of them are quick response with 155-degree sprinklers.
Run that by me one more time.
Yeah,
So
I understand.
I'm going to suggest that you approve the variance, but based on the condition that all the standard response sprinklers be changed out to quick response.
So, yeah, so
So you're approving 40% of our variance.
if I understand right, you have heads that are rated for 155 degrees where you were required to have heads between 101 and 150.
Well, it's if you have ambient temperature over 100 degrees, then the chart tells you should use intermediate temperature sprinklers, which would mean they're over 155, rated for over 155. But Christina did an analysis of it, an explanation. I believe she talked to Darryl Cross, the fire marshal, about it. So they're not opposed to the 155 degrees. So in other words, 40% of these units have quick response sprinklers at the balconies at 155 degree. So we need a variance basically to allow the 155 degree temperature, but change out any standard response to quick response you see. So, because if you just deny it outright, well, then that means they'd have to change out every sprinkler, and that's not what the fire department is asking for. We don't think that's necessary.
And will that allow you to basically take the head out without tearing out the ceilings or?
No, they'll still have to tear it down. It's gonna be ugly, but it's gonna be ugly, but only for 60% of the units instead of 40.
I'm shaking this one, yes, and no.
Just time consuming.
Marshall Lot, what are your thoughts?
Well, it's unfortunately during the rough-in inspection of this, we didn't catch it because obviously they had orange protection over the sprinkler, so we didn't see it. We didn't catch it until we did our final inspection and caught that some of them, were the standard response versus a quick response. So I understand the issue of having to come back and spend all that money to rip the drywall out. We've had to hold the sprinkler contractor's hand through this whole project. Unfortunately, and we warned them on rough-in about issues, and when it come to final, they had like 200 heads that they had to fix before we would authorize them to release the apartment. So the sprinkler contractor, obviously, I don't think this guy's going to use this sprinkler contractor ever again, but unfortunately, that's why I think we're in the predicament we are, is because they got lazy and used these standard response heads versus what was supposed to be installed. So the good thing is they're all 155 heads. I did a surface temperature that they're black exterior walls. So obviously it draws the heat. And so on a 92 degree day, we had 114 degrees, on the surface right where the head was. So the 155 degree heads are probably not bad heads to have on there. But it's just going to be a longer response to pop the head versus the quick response heads, which is supposed to be installed. So because of that reason, we asked them to go get a variance. And so that's why we're putting it back into your court to approve. For us, we're okay if they leave it the way it is, but because we understand the hardship of the cost. And I think they're having issues with their sprinkler contractor getting work done as it is, let alone back charging these guys for the money that it's going to take to fix this project. So.
That's not right.
Yeah, I empathize with the pain of it, but, if you.
I'm gonna let my motion stand and see if I get a second.
Second.
Motion. Well, we're not going, that doesn't make any sense. That just means you're making them take out, you're saying that you want them to tear out every sprinkler and no one's asking them to do that. We have quick response sprinklers on 40% of these.
Yeah, 40% of the
That makes no
sprinklers on the
sense.
decks are fine, but it's a 60, it's the 59 is the number that they had the standard response heads on the balconies that need to be fixed.
So they need to replace 59 heads.
I've had to go to quick response.
So then, if, clarify for me, because I'm clearly confused. If the variance were denied, why would you need to replace those others? If they've already-
Because they have cited both issues. They have cited the issue of the temperature and the issue.
And the.
Right.
Okay.
They've sort of agreed, okay, we're okay with 155, but they did cite both of those issues. At least that's what I saw in the original email from them. See, I'm sorry, I didn't.
So they got some of them partially wrong and they got some of them double.
I'm not sure I would agree that 155 is wrong. It's disputable, but it's not disputable on the quick response versus standard.
So you got a motion to deny.
I will withdraw my motion
Okay.
and I'll let you make a motion.
There you go. All right. You got a comment? Go ahead. Or a motion? Okay. My motion is to approve with the condition that all standard sprinkler heads be replaced with quick response sprinkler heads.
That's right.
Yeah.
Second. Team member.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Chairman?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. Yes.
Sorry. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate the pain.
Yeah.
Let's take, we're gonna take, sorry, Dave. We're gonna take a quick.
Not lunchtime. It usually happens at lunch.
Take an hour break now.
Take a second break. It's just back to after lunch.
This building, this is the building when they're seeing class one.
Wow.
So I finally found it's not, they don't know how much status they have. This is the covered
All the days they.
area that they're talking about that they're gonna have this go through. When I looked at it, I'm like,
I've taken an hour for lunch. I think that's what I. There's. to him today?
Good, you're on this? All right, we're welcome back. We'll get started again. And we are looking at 240839 901 Indiana Avenue.
Yeah, I'll go ahead with this one. This is a 12-story building, R2. They originally requested type 1B construction for the upper 8 floors, but they want the upper 8 floors to be reduced to 2A construction. Now, this is a two-parter. The second parter is if it's 2A, they can only go up 4 stories, but they are going to request to allow 12 stories. Hope that's clear.
Dave Cook Consultants. And if I could have you not listen to the band on this. For some reason, this is very confusing and I will try to make it as simple as possible. We are building a brand new high-rise building down here on the canal at 501 Indiana Avenue. There's an existing building there, existing site. All those other variances, by the way, so you don't panic, have all been approved. So we're actually only talking about C and D. So the first thing is that when you build a high rise, you go to chapter 4. And chapter 4 has some wonderful exceptions that help people get things built. And the most specific one is to reduce your construction type from 1B to 2A. Okay, let's don't get lost in the alphabet soup here, but 1A is 2-hour rated to 2A is 1-hour rated for all the structural elements. The code allows you to do that all day long, except for the last sentence that says you cannot do it when the high rise has F1, M, and S1. I don't know too many factories that were building high rises or S1 U-Haul storage facilities that I saw in Boston over the week. But our challenge here is the first level. It's actually a 13-story building, which I'll cover that here in the next. The first level is actually at the canal level. Okay, and if you look at the plans, we can go there in a second. Has M occupancies facing the canal. Okay, and on the first level, which is over here on the street side, just like all these other podium buildings, has M in there as well. It's just labeled that way. Okay, the city of Indianapolis wants this building. There's a specific university that's up near West Lafayette that wants this and needs this building to be built. So with all the negotiation going back and forth with the city, and this is the term the developer gave me, I believe he's probably on as well. The word the city used is they want a now level to be activated, meaning they want activity now. With my other hat on, which most of you know, I work downtown. And if you've ever been on the canal, there's really no retail on the canal level. It's all restaurants. If they're lucky enough to get somebody to move in, there's been some pretty nice restaurants down here. But the point being is because of the retail that's labeled on the plan, now, the developer's not locked in, the city didn't tell them, you have to put a retail spot in. That's not the case. So if I had my druthers, I would have just probably labeled the thing retail or assembly, right? But because we have retail, which is an M, it kicks us out of that automatic reduction down that is allowed in all the other buildings. Furthermore, if you look at the plans, and look at my variance working, the canal level that we're talking about is a very small sliver along the canal. It does not go the depth of the site. And when you look at that in section, there's really nothing above it except for parking garage. Yeah, there's a little bit of
classrooms that'll be on one corner. But there's really nothing there. But, and then on the street side, same thing, you got classrooms above it. Again, it's a material, the reason why we're in this is because it's retail and potentially could have mercantile in there, most likely not. So that's really the basis of the variance. It's just an alphabet issue.
That was helpful. I understood that.
I can do the second one if you'd like, because it, or we can discuss. Okay, the second one is so very slightly related to this one. As was mentioned, we're talking about construction type. Because that canal level, we're on an existing site. The canal level, there's two ways you determine what is the lowest level of your building. And by the way, Craig, you did a great job. I'm trying to champion you now, but you did a great job explaining that. The previous. There's two ways to figure out the lowest level of a building. In this particular building, one way is if you're more than 50% of the grade plane and it's pushed down, then that becomes the first level. In this particular situation, we get caught by the second criteria, is we cannot be more than 12 feet from grade, which would be the canal level, to the floor above. We're at 13 feet 5 inches. So all we're talking about literally here is 1 foot 5 inches. What that is causing is, instead of a 12-story building, it's actually 13 because the canal level is the first story. It's not labeled that way on the plans, but from a technical standpoint, it is. At the street level, sure, it's 12 stories, right? So where we get into trouble here is the fact that because that is the canal level, we go to 13 stories. And ultimately, we max out. Like you remember the first discussion, I'm still allowed to use the table in chapter 5, which gets us to 12 stories with sprinklers. Code says 11. We have sprinklers throughout, so we go to 12. And the reason why the second variance is here is because that canal level, 1 foot 5, is causing that to be the first story instead of a basement. Again, same thing. It's a very small sliver of space. I can't even tell you what the percentage is per the other floors above, but if you look at the plan, it's just one depth back. Oh, by the way, on all of this, the first 5 floors are all 1A construction. We had a debate whether you could do this building as a podium, but we decided just treat it as a high rise and go at it that way. But the entire first 5 floors are all 1A construction, 3 hours. You don't have to build it that way. You can build it 2B, or excuse me, 2A, 1 hour. Just because inherently we're going to build it all out of cast in place concrete, I believe. But anyway, it's going to be 1A construction, but we're building the 2A, which is again allowed, except for the
5 stories of 1A and then 8 stories of 2A.
Correct. Yes.
David Carpenter, Indianapolis Fire Department. I've talked with Dave Cook about this, and I've also talked with Chief Beard about this. We aren't in opposition to it. We understand that it's a way to save money on the building project. One thing that Chief Beard and I did discuss was that to look at each variance as its own individual, with its own individual circumstances, not as necessarily because if you pass it on this one or the other one or 2 other ones, that each one has its own specific thing that they're incorporating into that variance, and that's the way we would ask you guys to look at it.
But you don't have any heartburn with.
No, we don't have any heartburn about the reduction in construction type for the 13-story building.
And so if you're not again, because those are the only two variances we have. Correct.
And the rest are all recommended for approval, so.
We still have to
Yeah.
approve.
Okay, but you agree with the two that have not been recommended.
It's, well, I mean, in a perfect world, they'd spend the extra money to rate it the extra hour that would be required. But we are also in the real world where money makes a difference, and in each project, the name of the game is to build it quick and get it occupied. So, you know,
Obviously, I have a little bit of take. The other thing too, I'm not stepping on your toes, but I think IFD, like most fire departments, kind of hesitate to say that they're going to agree with any variance. It's just something that's not
right, yeah.
in their nature.
That variance request is one that's been recommended for approval.
No, not these two.
C and D.
So the David Cook. That David. What is the cost difference between 1B and 2A in this situation?
Mayan, are you online?
Yeah.
Chris, are you there? Okay, so they're not there. I don't have that off the top of my head. Wasn't expecting that question.
You looking for Christina Maru? Yeah, she's listed on.
No, Chris. Malloy. I would have to say sprinklers you throw out, which Rifty's in the back of the room. And you typically throw out $250 a square foot, and usually trying to put on fireproofing and all that, you're looking at about the same per square foot. Do not quote me on that. Again, I wasn't prepared to answer that question, but I think it's.
That's what I would quote.
The developer is busy and the architect, I don't know if he's on or not. So if that's crucial, I can certainly go and get that answer. I guess what I was trying to.
Yeah, I mean, we would like it to all be built per code the way it was written. Again, we also understand that money comes into play with every project that happens. We also understand that, you know, not everything can be built just the way the code is written, which is why we have a building commission to make these decisions.
And Dave and I worked together for a long time, not to rephrase what he did, but I'd like to make sure I'm emphasizing more. The only reason on the first variance that we're into this is because we have this small sliver of M on both street level, and that's the only thing that's stopping us from, and remember, in both of these situations, because of the located in the building, they're separated. There's, first of all, sprinkler. And then vertically, we have a 3-hour rated.
Yeah.
So this was 13 stories of R2. You're fine at 2B or 2A all day long.
Yeah.
The reason the 1B is triggered is because of the market goal.
Is because again, I mean, you're in downtown. There's nobody's selling T-shirts and jewelry up and down the canal. If anything, there's restaurants there. And even if there is somebody with a retail shop in there, this is not Walmart. This is not like Macy's.
It's not going to be mattresses and upholstered furniture.
No, very good. Yeah. We will be, but.
We were gonna ask for a condition. It might be that, you know, we don't sell mattresses and upholstery furniture or make it a hardware store, something of that nature that would have flammable liquids in it.
Spirit Halloween,
Or distillery.
fireworks, don't
The rental rate will be too high for that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it won't happen. Yeah. But it will activate the canal.
I hope that doesn't happen. But that's really why we're here. And then obviously the other thing, the 13th story is only because of the canal level again, the difference of 1.5.
And then the reason I asked is because you did cite financial hardship as one of the reasons, so.
Okay. Yeah. 253 per square foot, and that would obviously be on the floors above. Sizable.
Yeah, it's still a sizable number. I'm not sure how much.
And in certain situation, you has a financial hardship, if the variances did not get approved, they would have to cut the building off by one floor.
I'm not sure how much conversation everybody needs, but more, but I would make a motion to approve variances C and D.
You want to amend it, to just approve all of them, A through I?
Oh, yeah. And all variances from, I guess that's right, all variances from A to I. Yeah.
Is there
John, motion to
for a condition from IFT?
I mean, if there is a condition, that it wouldn't be for furniture or upholstered furniture or hardware stores. But I don't think the rent would be, non-combustible in Marketing.
I don't know how you do that. That's specifically.
Not non-flammable.
Very difficult to enforce.
Yes.
The leasing.
The reality is, because I totally understand, that, but the reality is, as a developer, I can tell you the rents will be too high. And the furniture store or hardware store will be down there. This will be probably a restaurant. Because they'll pay the higher rent rates and you're exactly right. They want to activate the canal and there'll be a lot of pressure to activate the canal with some eating type establishment.
It's a trendy spot. You sit on mattresses there,
Good. Would be new.
Some sort of Korean hot pot or something.
But my motion is to approve. Yeah. I'm not sure if there was a second.
I haven't heard of that.
I'll second it.
Okay. Got a first and second to approve?
Ask the minutes.
Estimate.
Commissioner Britton?
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hyde?
Yes.
Chairman? Yes.
Yes.
Vice Chairman?
Yes.
Commissioner Ford?
Yes.
Commissioner Byron?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to 240840A, single on trail. And,
Okay, so. Alright. Development Nickel Trail Townhomes. The first one, the code mandates that buildings of a construction have 1 hour weighted floor to roofs. This measure is to allow unweighted floors for the building while maintaining 5A construction costs.
Ed Vincent, RTM Consultants. The variance request is stated, other than I would like to modify it. We will actually have, we are proposing a 1 hour roof ceiling assembly. So we're only asking for variance for the floor ceiling assemblies. So this is a 4-story, series of 4-story dwelling units. We call them townhomes. If there were 3 stories, we'd be calling them townhouses, doing it under the residential code. So we can't do that. So it's under the building code. There's 2 options actually, and I've had clients do one of 2 different options for these, and I listed those in one of the other one in item 5 is that they could do 2-hour walls between each unit and then just call each individual unit in that separate building as an R3 occupancy. Then we could just do a 13D sprinkler system in that building because it's just an R3. Or you could design it the way it's proposed and it's a 1-hour fire partition between units like in any other multifamily residential. And we call it R2 occupancy. And the difference between the two is if we went with the 2-hour walls between units as R3s, they would be allowed to be 5B construction. So we wouldn't have to rate anything in the building at all. Because of going to the R2 option, it's more strict on the allowable height is where it comes in. Because of the 4 stories, that kicks it into a type 5A construction. So we're proposing, we'd have 1-hour exterior walls because they're rated only from the inside, and then we'd have 1-hour roof, but they want to be able to not rate the individual floors in the building. And the issue is, or the reason for that is we're not separating other dwelling units. It's just all part of the same dwelling unit. We meet our travel distance, an NFPA 13R, sprinkler protected. We did have a similar variance granted a couple of years ago. I think in that case, they were just eliminating the radiation dampers from the HVAC duct penetrations of ceilings. So that is part of the issue. It's really probably the major issue, but we're electing to request this particular variance to allow the floor ceiling assemblies to be non-rated. And we believe it's because there's not a hazard in this case of everything's within the same dwelling unit. And Mr. Chairman, it's okay, I'll just get into the second variance also. The second variance deals with I'll call them chases that carry, people talk about chases. Well, that's different than a rated shaft. So they have ductwork connecting all 4 floors, but they're just using a chase wall to cover the ductwork. It's not a rated shaft. Technically, because there's an exception for example, we can have the stairs are allowed to be completely unenclosed in a 4-story dwelling unit. And you can have other floor openings that connect all 4 floors. But technically, because of enclosing these duct runs with walls, they're not unconcealed. So the condition is for 4-story openings to be open in a single dwelling unit. They still condition that on them being unconcealed. Technically, they're concealed because they're behind a wall. You don't see it. So what we're proposing is, well, for one, we will have a fire alarm system throughout with all the smoke alarms throughout. And so, and again, there's very little purpose in trying to contain, because of the 4-story condition that's open anyway with stairs. There's really nothing gained by creating rated shaft with fire dampers for the duct penetrations. So there's really a lack of hazard in this, particularly in this case for that variance request. It kind of goes with the first one, but this one has more to do with creating a shaft for the duct.
Oh, Ed, did you say the roof filling will be rated?
Yes. Yeah, I had sent an email in clarifying that at one point, and I.
Like, it's not what you're bearing.
I know, there was a question about that. Somebody sent me an email asking me about it, and I said, well, okay, I went back to the client, and I asked them, they said, oh, no, we're gonna rate the roof ceiling assembly. So that's just a clarification from what I have in the variance, that we will rate roof ceiling assembly.
Okay, if the variance is approved, I would suggest that be, one of the conditions, only
Yes.
because, you know, how the attachments end up come up.
Yes, right. I agree. That probably should be included as a condition.
They did it with your letters.
Okay. I didn't know. I realized that back, I kind of threw that in there, and then afterwards I thought, well, better. They were worried more about the, because I thought, well, they're probably not gonna have duct penetrations at the top, so they don't care about that so much.
So the walls are, what are the walls gonna be? You said.
They'll just be chase walls. So in other words, they'll probably have just a layer of drywall to cover them up. So the ductwork isn't exposed.
You're asking about the first area.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh,
Let's
sorry.
go back to the first area.
Oh,
One.
well, they'll probably just do a single layer of drywall on the other side of the trusses.
Did you say 1 hour?
Well, we're getting a variance for them to not be 1 hour, so whatever it's, depending on the floor construction.
He's asking about walls.
Yeah, walls between units. The
Oh,
floor,
I'm sorry, the walls between units will be 1 hour fire protection. Sorry.
Yeah. Of course, the opening of the stairs defeats the.
It's floors.
Yeah.
It's sort of an incongruity because you're really not protecting anybody, you know, and we're meeting the travel distance, so it's.
is the, and then moving back to the second variance, the chase, will those be, will they, if there's a fire in the chase, is there, smoke or something in the chase so that?
Well, I think what would be, actually, now that you say that, I was getting ready to say that we'll have fire stopping in there, but I think what would be required, I didn't put that in here. But you'd have to have fire blocking there, I think, because if you look at the requirements in section 718, it requires fire block. So if we don't have a rated chase shaft, then I think what would be required is fire blocking at each floor level, because you're supposed to fire block between interconnections of horizontal and vertical cavities. So I think we would have to do that as a matter of code. I probably should have listed that in here, but we would do fire blocking, which is typically done with, in this case, probably the best material would be an insulation material, which is allowed as a fire block. It would be because it'll fit around ductwork. So I have no problem with that being different. As she said that, I thought, well, that would be required.
I think you were looking for fire dampers, the word you were looking for, Mr. Cook.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but
It won't need a fire damper if it's only 2-story.
it's not four. These are 4-story units.
And it is going the whole 4 stories, the ductwork.
Yes, they originate in a mechanical room in the basement, and then they'll run all the way to the top. The point is that if there's a fire in the unit, you're not gonna keep it to one floor no matter what you put in that ductwork, so. But we have detectors all over the place. Detectors are required not just in sleeping rooms, they're required outside each sleeping room. And they're required on each floor level where you have stairs. So you're gonna have a lot of smoke alarms in here. You'll find out right away if you've got a problem. Plus, we have 13R sprinkler system with quick response sprinklers.
But you're going 4 stories without a fire rated chase. That is your question, right?
That is correct.
You don't want a variance for that.
That's correct. That's the second variance request. Because we have 4-story open stairs in the unit. The code allows that. Technically, it doesn't allow this because it's concealed, so to speak.
I think you still need the fire blocking between each floor.
We do. I absolutely agree with that. We do need fire blocking in there because otherwise you've got an interconnection with horizontal and vertical spaces. So you're going to get some containment in there from floor to floor within that cavity. A very important point. I should have included a variance, but.
And is there detection in the chase too?
We are, no.
Only at the unit if it's over 2,000 CFM.
Yeah, that's right. If it was over 2,000, I don't know whether it is or not, then you would have a return air detector.
4 stories, you might be.